coffee from Mr. Taylor in the future.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Collective, where we are finally done with some of the audio issues. And I just wanted to say, Corey, welcome back to the show. Welcome to my basement. I know you're in another room here, but I do really appreciate you being here, man. It's good to see you.
Well, I appreciate the hospitality, getting me off base for one and pick me up with a Tim Hortons coffee. Couldn't be more Canadian or military. So thanks for the extract.
Anytime. I am happy to help. Now, today I wanted to talk to you about the course that you've been on, the time that you've been on, time you've been out here, and all that good stuff. But before I do that, I just want to remind everybody to like the show, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and join us every day as we do these chats. Now, you and I were chatting personally before you left for the field, before I went camping and all that stuff. And then you came back yesterday and we were chatting this morning about some of the epiphanies that you've had over the last little while. So why don't you give us a little 30 to 45 second blurb on who you are again, because it's been a little while. But after that, we'll dive right into your experience on course and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those checking in for the first time, my name's Corey Hatt, also Lieutenant Hatt in the military. I've been in 21 years and deployed 2 tours to Afghanistan. In between that, I had a private security contract where I ran a company called Course Solution in Barbados. And I've done some course in the military that allowed me to exploit the utilizations of executive protection on the private side. And I've gone on a tactical team for 6 years and moved up through to different positions all the way up to senior scientist / engineer, working for a nuclear facility, developing emergency preparedness scenarios, drills, and exercises. And then commissioned just recently from platoon warrant to platoon commander, now OPSO. And that's what brought me to Edmonton, was to complete my officer training. So I spent the last 6 weeks basically learning the ins and outs and administration and doctrine of what's required for a military police officer. Although I've had some experience on the non-commissioned side, this was definitely a brain squeeze. So I've just got out in the field 48 hours ago and spent the last 2 weeks doing 18-hour shifts in the CP, learning a lot about myself. And with my course mates, we both developed and harnessed both our strengths and focused on our weaknesses together as a team and come out stronger for it. It was really fantastic to see not only ourselves grow, but the other course that was in conjunction with what we were doing. We had a new stream of SQ candidates go into their QL3, which is their trades training, and come out fully qualified with their red berets. And being a part of that as an officer on parade was definitely unique for drill and other perspectives, watching essentially 2 young candidates go from working on confidence, just hoping to pass, to becoming top candidates. I peer voted one of my members in and really worked with them, that I hope will be a future person that'll speak on the collective. And I'd love to hear their experience from the course and also where the future of the military is going from their perspective. Because at my ripe old age of 41 years, I've seen some changes. And although there's different perspectives on where people think the military is, I have come out with a very positive overall opinion. I feel there could be more budget spent on things like ammunition, extension of training, but where things are going, the technological advantages we're using, live battle tracking, has been really unique and exceptional in terms of what training value has been provided to us. And for me, just an overall confidence boost. I'm still in it, getting after it, but the recovery is a little bit slower, as you can tell in the delay that I have in formulating cohesive thoughts, as I'm still figuring out where the sore spots on my body are coming from, either from a bear pit or from just getting after it in the CP. And
well, let's get into that in a second before we get too deep and let you run off there. So you've just finished this course. The one thing that I really want to talk about before before I actually dive into all these questions. Oh, Sean, anything you want to ask Corey?
Yeah. What's the topic?
The topic
For
today
today.
was going to be this course, and he's made some epiphanies while he was gone. So let's dive into the overall topic then. Was the fact that you came to this course kind of as a thought that it was going to be a bit of a vacation. It's going to be the ability for you to relax, work out, hang out, and chill while doing some administrative coursework. But it turned into a lot more than that. So let's talk about that side of it, and then we can get into some of the epiphanies you've made on the course itself.
Yeah, so exactly my understanding was it was going to be a 4 week course, intensive on the administrative side, but with an 8 to 4 kind of mindset where you'd get some free time at night to work out, similar to how I'd experienced being on base last when I did my last workup, which was quite the opposite. What they did instead was basically formulate an adult learning style environment where everything was distilled. It was distilled down to the essential essence of the basics of what's required. They threw out all the fat that takes a lot of time to go around explaining. So we'd have lectures that should have taken like the better part of 4 periods to do, distilled into like a half an hour, like the basics of exactly what you need to know, why. Then they threw a bunch of extra stuff. So think of like a blender and just taking out all the stuff that's the fat or unnecessary, then adding a bunch of extra stuff in. So for those on the military side of things, if they're listening, think of it like an ATOC light blended with a cap. So you have that elements of like your basic training of an officer with advanced training going all the way up to like a division level set of orders, breaking it down, distilling it, rewriting it, formulating and presenting it, all while you're in your first week of where like I was expecting time off. I was given homework instead till like midnight on top of extra assignments and then waking up super early to continue on with the tempo that was just it was a hit the ground running kind of thing. And what they did in advance was they set us up with 2 weekends of distance learning where we spent our whole weekend going through a lot of law and legal procedural guidance, different things that we had to be familiar with before we started familiarizing with looking things up to help us familiarize. And it certainly was beneficial, but the uniqueness of this was that there was only 3 candidates. There's originally supposed to be 6. So being such a small group, we were able to work directly with the CO of our unit in 1MP and our course officer while we watched them do their jobs, manage another course, and teach us and mentor us. So it was really a professional adult learning kind of environment. And where the military seems to be going, it's less grounding people down and grinding them, telling them they're worthless, to the opposite, building them up professionally, working on each other, others' strengths and weaknesses, asking for active feedback through the whole thing, but a very positive development. So I think this is kind of the way of the future of training. And I see this not only in the officer level, like we're kind of at a senior level course because it's preparing me for my captains and then eventually to do my AOC and ATOC for majors. But the overall environment was super positive with the elements of stress of all the additional work we had to do each night.
So what about the we were talking more lessons learned in terms of like I'm not so much interested in the how the course was run specifically, but the lessons that you've taken from it in terms of your personal development, in terms of your leadership, in terms of all of these things that are almost intangible.
Yeah, for me, my big takeaways were things I already knew, but were exploited in the field under pressure and the stress of the fog of war in terms of the need and importance of paying attention to detail, distilling things down to the essence of what's required for the troops, valuing their time. So for time appreciation, I was able to realize the things I really need to develop are attention to detail, formulating clear, cohesive thoughts instead of just rambling on and on after 4 hours of sleep in the last 3 days. Really nailing things down and and developing that kind of battle tracking mindset to keep cohesiveness going while multi-tracking what's going on in the current situation, thinking what has to happen the next two bounds, and just basically the overall mindset of like when you have something that needs improvement, or even if you nail it really well, there's always that mindset of doing better. So that became our slogan through the course, is just do better. If you miss something or there's a step that wasn't quite taken in your orders format, the approach was to do better, always push each other, help each other out, be constantly looking for work. And in the leadership perspective, the competence was built up to match the confidence. I think I've always had a level of cockiness about me, and maybe there's a peg or two taken down when we came to really grind through having to do your mission estimate analysis and formulate orders within the span of less than 24 hours. There's that, I guess, step you're learning about yourself as you go through when you're applying experience to what's the theory and going through it. We came together as a team, worked on each other's strengths, and it was really a cool experience to see how different strengths from others kind of picked each other up together, and we grew as a team. For me, it was a huge confidence leap. I guess I went from being an officer that kind of felt a little bit like an imposter syndrome when I came from the platoon warrant spot. I knew very competently how to handle a platoon, but to go up to like a brigade level and understand how things operate was a definite stretch in development on my abilities and understanding. So really came out with a lot of solid understanding from doctrinally how to operate in the field and just the overall mechanisms of war.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Sean, so far?
Yeah, we're 12 minutes in, and I'm still 11 minutes in the past, wondering if they took away your compass the moment that they gave you your officer bars.
I'm still competently able to navigate. What's really interesting
Well,
is
no, that's what you think. That's what you think as an officer. But
that's
who
true.
took your compass away from you is what I want to know.
You know what's funny is the things don't change. There's still the jokes and practicalities of the esprit de corps. So I went out to visit the troops, deliver a set of orders for a basic thing like a shower run, and the shenanigans continue. I left my vehicle for maybe 20 minutes. When I came back, somebody had like thrown the windshield wipers on. The lights, the sirens were all going. So as soon as I started it, it was just like lights and everything. And you could see them all watching and waiting and just laughing. And the jokes continued. So like when your troops are playing tricks like that on you and they're very open and honest about what they're facing, that's a good sign. It shows camaraderie at a level where there's an openness and discussion. When you're doing things with them, it builds respect. You don't expect them to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. So filling in trenches, was kind of like a tribute to the past of where I'd come from ISQ. It was fun to bond with these new soldiers of the future and also see where things are technologically. We're using a system called BattleTrack where we could see live on our maps where different call signs were moving, the speeds they're going at, the communication. And they're even enhancing that to the point where you can pull up live video to see what they're up to. So there's definitely been a lot of improvements technologically, and the way of the future is going to continue to expand. And there's been changes to where, of course, they're really distilled down to the bare essence. And they're building up from that. So there's been a lot of condensation of how things used to be 2 months. There's been a compression of things, but the professionalism still continues and the drive is there, which is good. It's good to see young soldiers getting after it.
Now, you and I were talking off camera, obviously beforehand, but we were discussing how coming into this, you expected that it was going to be a bit of a almost not really a throwaway course, but time for you to relax and reconstitute your mind a little bit. Due to the fact that you had some losses, some friends and things like that you had to manage. You got a really busy schedule. We were kind of discussing about how the fact that it wasn't what you expected actually turned out better for you than not? You
Yeah,
want to
I
run that
mean,
down for us?
I think a lot of people like myself going through the things we've been through face issues that we deal with on a daily basis, whether it be anxiety, depression, suicidal tendencies. There's a lot of things that can get our heads and complicate things. And oddly enough, to quiet things in your mind, sometimes you need to be put through the grinder and kind of just forge back into what made you who you were. And I found when I first started this course, I was going through an issue before I'd even headed over, and dealing with the loss of a friend recently really added to basically just some compounding issues that I've had. And certainly it was sad coming back to that spot where we basically prepared to deploy together in my last tour and were roommates. And it was on my thoughts a lot. And top of other things, at a certain point, all that kind of just faded away when there was just a point of constant chaos where you had to quiet the mind and just focus on the task at hand. It got so busy and so intense that all that stuff sort of melted away. And what was left was a calmness and confidence of just being able to competently do the job and execute with a high level of precision. Melted all the other issues away. And in fact, some might argue that putting oneself through such a high stress and level of tempo isn't a good thing. I would counter and say it is. It was the opposite. I had a very positive effect and came out more calmer and confident after the fact. And halfway through, I'd realized that as I was going and continuing to develop and just excelling from one test to the other, that it actually was very beneficial. It ended up being kind of the vacation that I needed. It wasn't what I'd wanted or expected. In fact, physically, I'm probably not in any better shape than when I started, but mentally, there's a reset and a confidence there and appreciation for really what the military is all about. And it's about the family, the ethos of when you put on the uniform, serving your country, protecting one another, putting the team essentially before oneself, but also the importance of looking after yourself in order to continue the mission. And that really got reinforced after about 18 hours in the CP, trying to figure out when the last time was that you ate, how hydrated you were, how hydrated your teammates were, watching them fade and keeping on top of each other. It really kind of reminds oneself of why we set out to do what we do, why there's things like the collective where we look out for each other, build each other up, and we're just basically out there looking to help. And the benefits and satisfaction you get from when you see somebody that's been struggling really come out of their shell, become confident, get that inner voice, that command presence developed, and you work on each other. That satisfaction of watching them excel past what they thought they could be is a huge reward for me. That's like a tertiary benefit to doing these things. And you feel very proud watching those troops on parade and the people you worked your ass off together with just be awesome, do better.
Any questions, Sean, so far?
Yeah, I've been listening, trying to form a pattern. I'm a pattern guy. I've been trying to understand all of the things that you've said, pal, to form a pattern and understand why you're a different person now than before you deployed onto the course. And maybe I'm off base, but here's my thought. You've always struck me as a guy who understands what it means to be a team player. You've always been a guy who struck me as a guy who tries to gather people together and work as a team. So I don't think the realizations that you had on the course made you a better team player per se. I've always considered you as one of the strongest team-oriented guys I know. However, I think maybe a missing aspect to what's formulated a change for you, perhaps, is out here in the digital world. If you stay in the digital world a long, long, long time, building teams in a digital space, sometimes you forget the physical world or the hardships of the physical world, the hardships of forcing or forcing yourself or others to do hard things and learning the hard physical lessons of a physical team. And so it's fun to watch a digital space grow as a team, but it's almost an intangible thing. It's a digital thing. It doesn't have any presence per se that you can reach out and touch. But when you're in the mud and dirt and sweat, blood and tears, things become a whole lot more real, and you can be reminded of what a team actually is, and you can be reminded of how hard it is to create a good team, but then you're also reminded of the benefits of creating a good physical team. You get to see that young guy show up and not know too much, but at the end of the course, be the top candidate. All of these physical aspects that sometimes we forget about, the joyful outcomes in the physical world that we don't truly get to experience in the digital world. That's what it sounds to me like. You just went through a physical application of the digital stuff that you've been doing for the last couple of years, at least to my eye. And it's been a good connection between the two, or a good realization that maybe not that you can do more, but that you just kind of forgot why or how you were doing it or something like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's both partly application, all that stuff is obvious, but also reminded me how much I miss just being there in person, getting after it. And we all know how the benefits of rucking can both calm the mind and the body. But until you actually do it, it's easy to forget just how important it is to continue after it. Just like jujitsu, when I came across this bear pit by accident, there was a bit of a shock, and then I was asked to join. And I jumped on it. I realized how out of shape I'd become just sitting in the CP and then applying those foundations as I'm getting tumbled, and then rolling back into position of advantage was both a part and parcel of the building camaraderie, but understanding that theoretical has a place until you actually apply things. And once you've been hit with the actual punch in the face of what's combat or operations and ongoing, and you actually apply it, it's really easy to lose perspective of things. So we all know it's important until you're actually still doing it and reapplying it. It's that reminder that, yeah, it's important to build those social networks, those connections, continue to apply it. And although virtually is a great benefit, it's a tool to have that helps us connect abroad where we can't generally get together. Being in person, there's really no other way or substitute for it. It's good to have that opportunity to discuss, but without an actual physical thing like Operation Pegasus Jump, we're just talking about getting out of planes, getting after it, getting people to do it. But when you get to see, the Sean Taylors in person, the chances and have that coffee that's been perfectly roasted, or getting yourself out of the aircraft and applying those things, it's easy to forget and lose perspective. Like when I'm in my own bubble, I get comfortable. I'm comfortable at shows, talking to people in my sphere. When I get ripped out of there and dropped into like a fob in the middle of nowhere and operating out of my backpack again with a team I don't know a lot about, but we're still on the same mission, it takes that time to really apply things. And it's like a refinement. It's the same of what we already know and are doing, but just a slight turning of the screw and a refining of the process and understanding and the experience that we have.
Yeah. We got a quick comment from Dave. Congrats, Corey. Keep leading by example, inspiring those around you. Absolutely, Dave. Now, the one thing that I wanted to touch on there that you had mentioned was the fact that both you and Sean had mentioned was the fact that, the real world is real and the digital world is digital, and that it is very easy to forget the difference between those. Because, I mean, just over the last 5 days of me trying to figure a digital world out in a physical one and having all sorts of problems, it's easy to forget how well you've set yourself up. Like you can put yourself, like you said, into that bubble and be comfortable there without realizing how comfortable you actually are, and thinking that, oh, well, this is really challenging. But is it really challenging, or is it just like mentally challenging? Is it digitally challenging? Is it what type of challenging it is? What type of challenging is it? Kind of deal. Any other thoughts, Sean, on anything Corey
I
said so
do.
far? Yeah.
I do. So, Corey, you have you've learned some things through in the physical world, we'll call it. And just as Dave Curvin has mentioned, you are a fantastic leader in the digital space and as a dude. Like I'm sure Dave is a big fan of shaking your hand, etc. Just as am I. However, you've just come through a process, and before you went out on the process, you ran your program, your digital program, a certain way. And I love what you guys are doing over at Mad Hatter Industries. Of course, I'm a big fan, except for the nerdy motorcycle stuff. I mean, that's whatever. Oh. But now that you've just come through this process and you've got some recalibrated moments, or you're reconnected to life in a way that you haven't been for a little while, perhaps, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to take back into the Mad Hatter Industries world that you're going to incorporate into the digital space now?
Well, you'll probably see less of me, to be honest. I'm going to spend more time
Dude, we
both with
already don't
myself
see
and the
enough of
family.
you. What the hell? Like, I mean,
When you do, though, it'll be poor
less.
quality. We spent a month offline, essentially. The wife's been managing things with the rest of our team and Fanny, and they ran an event super successfully. What I realized is the benefit of having a team and not doing everything on your own, the importance of asking for help when you need help, but prioritizing. I probably spent way too much time online doing everything myself. And what's going to change is a transformation of putting other people in the right place with the company, doing the right things. We got Dave watching online. He's got an amazing podcast that's being developed that we're going to continue to work with. And he's also got a ruck event coming up. But I also got the kick in the ass I needed to push myself towards my next challenge, which is going to be applying for CP next year. So I have both mental and physical things that I need to work on to prepare for that. And the confidence is there. I just need to work on a few things like attention to detail. Physical fitness aspect is going to be always a continuous thing, that it's an ever evolving, S curve. It goes up and down, but there's a steady state. And never has it been even more important to remind me of the both fraternity of martial arts and importance in practical application in the field, and towards one's mental acuity, applying things via stress while getting strangled or put through the ringer, to actively think what the priorities are and where your next move should be. So it's very validating, but there's some work I got to do. And we're going to apply things at a higher level, ready to move up to the next level. And we'll be bringing on more of the team to help with that.
And so with that said, have you started to visualize the next level? Do you know what that looks like for you? Because that's a quaint statement that I say myself sometimes. I'm just going to move it up to the next level. And sometimes I don't even know what the next level looks like, but sometimes I do. So have you visualized, not precisely, but generally speaking, what that looks like for you?
Yeah, and the seeds have been placed a while ago, but there's going to be a new evolution in the business process. There'll be a new element that people will see when it's ready. There's also going to be some changes in terms of...
Hang on a sec. One of the things that we do over here is we give teasers. Like, give us a hot tip. Drop a little bit of give us something here. This is what we do.
Yeah.
I dragged him out of Pat Mac. I'll drag him out of anyone. Let's get some hot stuff going here. Give us a teaser.
All right, so there's three elements to Mad Hatter Industries for income streams, where we have both the online incomes, in-person events, and then there's the custom orders. There's going to be a fourth element coming, and we'll advise when that's ready. It's already started. You might have seen it elsewhere. There's also a few other things that's going to be happening. I may be deploying at one point when things are ready and set.
You were a bit broken up. Chance's kids are obviously video gaming right now. So can you say that part again, please?
Yeah. So there's, I don't know how much you heard. There's the three elements right now of the business. There's the both online e-commerce part. There's the in-person events that have been really, that's where we get out and get into the community, find out what we can do to help. And for me, it's been my therapy. I call it the action being my therapy. I love being out there in the community, helping out. And then there's the custom order part that's been really growing this year. There's going to be a fourth element that's going to be developed and executed when the time is ready. It's already been started, and there's going to be a future deployment coming up the next couple of years. So lots of things going. You're going to see some new faces come in to the company and some others being pushed to the forefront. There's also different things we've been working on with members within our community. Well, they'll be showcasing their new businesses and ideas. So really, we're going to continue to support and grow and foster those relationships that we've had. There's going to be some new developments coming out in the new year, including a movie, and that's about as far as I'll go for now. But there's definitely been a refinement of things, and I've realized I'm not the person to be everywhere at all things all at the same time, but I'll always be there in the background, checking and adjusting where need be. So still the overall big picture idea, but you'll see me more kind of in videos like this and less on the day-to-day stuff.
I dig it.
Yeah, that's a great system. I mean, it's not much of a teaser. You didn't really give us a whole lot there, but
I don't know. Threw out a little bit of maybe a movie. I mean,
maybe a movie.
First thing I thought was, with a head your size, I hope you're not the leading star. So I'm just saying.
You know what? At least he doesn't have my forehead, because
That's true.
Definitely
That's
not.
a
true.
whole other ball of wax.
Yeah, you're a stunt double. Leave your hat on.
I could be a stunt double. I'd be okay with that. I just like being part of stuff. So let's talk about some of the other lessons. We've talked about quite a few so far, but I wanted to dive a little bit more into, if you're comfortable with it, obviously, but into losing your friends, and managing through that process while being on course, while being away from your family, while doing that thing. How did you manage through that and come out the other side where you are now?
Well, I guess I didn't have a choice. I mean, it certainly wasn't expected. It was a shock to all of us, and it was tragic. It's been something that I'll probably never fully recover from, but it's also, we have to basically reevaluate, and moving forward, you have to understand as we get older, there's going to be things continue to happen that we'll have to deal and adapt with. What we'll never do is forget the memories that they left behind, the experiences that we had with them, and especially when there's younger ones involved, not letting them lose sight of who that person was and to relive those memories and continue to be in the background, helping out where we can and mentoring and looking out for one another. The mission never ends. And it's also really an important reminder when you need help to ask for help. It's easy to lose sight of things, especially at the officer level, when you're looking after others and focusing on the bigger picture, on what you need for yourself, as basic as when the last time was you slept, for how long, when you did something for yourself, like eat. You got to keep track of those things. To help others, you got to help yourself. You got to seek the professional help that's required, and that looks different for everybody. But the important thing is that you do look out for yourself and others, and don't ever take for granted the chance where you have the opportunity to talk to someone. A conversation that could be missed is a ripple effect that could have bigger repercussions in the future.
That's a great point. Any thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, so on that final piece there, that's what I'm going to choose to focus on. You were talking about having the conversation with someone or engaging in a conversation so they can have a conversation with you. So you're either directing it at them or they're directing it at you. Do you feel that, I mean, you've always struck me, at least from what I know of you in the past, you've always been a guy who understands the importance of that. and has been open to all those kind of conversations in the past. So is there something, are you going to redouble your efforts, or is there something that you're going to change in your own personal ways to adapt to the new feelings or knowledge or emotions that you've got? Are you going to change your program to some degree, I guess?
Yeah, I think I might have gone a little too hard, and that's the way I go with everything. And sometimes that can be a bad example to others trying to forge their own businesses. You need to focus at your own pace, where your feet are at, and you can leave a wake if you're just trying to burn through something and get to that objective as fast as possible. And for me, there's going to be a step back in terms of calming the mind and working on things in the background with others that I ensure I keep tabs on and don't take for granted the opportunity to get to spend time with them. There's definitely areas where I've just focused on too hard that's sacrificed both time with the family and friends that I should really take that extra time to get out to and see in person, where we talk about getting together and just don't get to it because there's a lot of stuff going on and there's always a reason to state or to end up doing something else. You need to make time for those in your life that are really important to you and let them know that there really isn't enough time you can spend with your family. As someone as busy as myself, I certainly want to be an example of balance and harmony versus chaos and destruction, which is really what I'm typically pretty good at. It's just forging a path of fire out to the objective. And I think things can be done a little bit more tactfully. I've been taught that with a lot of the new members that I've been working with. There's a lot of great ideas out there where I just think linear, straight to the objective. There's sometimes a better way to do that. And I'm certainly, in my old age of 41 years old, competent enough to understand that I may not have all the answers or really be doing it the best way. There's always room for improvement. And I think I can always do things better. Doing more is a question of something has to give for something else to be put forward. So you can't just do it all.
Yeah. It's a very important lesson to learn. Can't just do it all. And Sean, you got any other thoughts on that?
I do. You can do it all. You can.
It's not all at once.
Just not all at once. So
yeah,
key.
You can do
and so
anything
I don't
you
wanna,
want, just not everything.
That's right. I do not want to bypass that simple generalized statement of you can't do it all, because I totally disagree with that. But again, we've just reinforced that you can't do it all simultaneously. And so it is a matter of understanding how to balance your priorities. And how do you even do that? I mean, if you've never prioritized anything, if no one's ever thought to themselves, if you're listening to this right now, well, what are my priorities today? What's number one? What do I have to crack out of the park? And then when that's done, what's number two? And then what's number three? For me, I don't run my day like that because it takes care of itself. That's a routine that's offloaded autonomously. My Sean now, this version of Sean, just makes it happen. The priorities fall in place naturally through so many failures in the past, or through so many negative experiences, or through doing it so wrong so many different ways, that now I don't even think of my priorities. They just take care of themselves every day, every week, every month, hopefully every year. And so I think that there is, if you're not at that point where maybe my age, if you're younger and you're still trying to figure out how this stuff is all supposed to work, you got to prioritize. You got to understand what your priority is for the day. What's the first thing that you really need to get to work on, that you need to deliver, that you need to execute against? And there'll be other things that bubble up throughout the day that are going to interfere with your priorities, that are going to entangle your priorities. But if you stay clear of purpose, clear of mind, and execute against that priority, get it done and move on to that next priority. That's how you build a clean, solid body of work as a young person, as far as I'm concerned. And once you do it enough for enough years, these priorities, they take care of themselves. They just offload autonomously, and you can focus on a much bigger picture. We'll call it a strategic picture, which kind of sounds where you're at right now, Corey, is considering a much larger strategic endeavor or a strategic path while considering maybe four tactical objectives, we'll call them. The fourth one, we still don't know what that is. Maybe a new movie in Hollywood. What? Is that true? And so, I mean, when you look at those four examples of your, we'll call them new priorities, how are you going to bounce that fourth one in there? Have you considered, oh, that's going to get 25%. Now I've got everything gets 25%, or does it get 10%? Or have you started rejigging your, call it old life against this new idea life?
Oh, I think he's frozen again. I don't understand. I'm going to see if I can fix this. Hold on 1 second while we...
Send your boys outside to play.
Essentially,
Oh, the boys aren't even here, so
the way I've
I'm going to go sort this out.
always done things is following my heart, doing what I feel was best.
I'm going to go sort this out. I'll be right back.
Please do. So while Corey's frozen and Chance is finding some Wi-Fi, I guess I will continue to make no points. My apologies, everyone. Podcasting. Corey, you're totally frozen. I don't hear anything. You are locked up like a Han Solo statue. It's fun though. This is fun. Not hearing anything. Looking at a Han Solo statue. It's awesome. Only another 15 minutes. It's good hanging out with you though, pal. Even though you're totally frozen and I can't hear you, it's good to see you. One for the record books.
My apologies, everyone. I have made a number of errors. Here we go. So, back to Corey here. Hit me up with, let's start that one all over again. So you make sure you're unmuted, and then we'll carry on. A little bit of delay on his phone here. My apologies, everyone. I'm going to make sure that this gets sorted out immediately. But, right, Sean. While we figure out the muting issue right now with Corey, we will carry on the conversation, I guess.
I was literally carrying on the conversation with myself with a frozen Han Solo statue and my co-host somewhere up in his kitchen making a sandwich. I don't even know what's going on right now. I'm about ready to end things is where I'm at.
Yeah, my apologies. Okay, Corey, you here with us again? Oh, and your AirPods aren't connected there, bud. Let's get this going here. No, not through there. Let me check your stuff here. Okay. All right. Well, as Corey sorts that one out, we're gonna keep chatting. Anyway, so let me give you a brief description on as to why I wanted to have Corey, especially while Corey's here.
I'm
He's
still
in my
wondering
basement,
what the topic is, honestly.
Yeah, we've been having a conversation last number of days, the times that when he first got here, and you and I chatted about this afterwards, was I saw quite a difference in just him coming over to my house and having time to decompress and kind of develop his thought pattern before he went into the field. He came back from the field, and I've noticed a difference immediately in terms of how he holds himself, how he engages in the conversation. He is much more relaxed and more engaged. And so I wanted to more talk about the lessons learned that he came through this last section of time in the field and, having to engage in all these things. Here he is. There we go.
Well, we're 45 minutes into the podcast, and now might be a good time right at the end to maybe dig into that.
Maybe dig into that, yeah. So, Corey, can we... did you want to get into the Sean's question at all, or do you want to dive into some of the lessons learned you've had over the last few weeks?
I still don't have any audio on here, but if you can hear me, we can go forward.
We can hear you.
That's good. Perfect.
Yep. Yeah. So give her. Let's give her then. What kind of lessons have you learned over the last couple of weeks? Not just militarily, but personally, outside of what we've gone over today.
Yeah, I mean, it's more just a validation application of what I've been able to apply through the lessons, both conceptually and practically. It's more of a check in the box competence wise. I think I've always had the confidence, but the planning level has certainly gotten a little bit more strategic. And from a higher level, operationally, I was able to put a lot more together. And I've always taken away the fact that you just do what you think is best. You go with your heart and apply the concept of if you always do what is best, doing the right thing, you never really have to question yourself or have any self-doubt. So there's definitely been a confidence check and a reinforcement of the importance of just getting to meet people in person when you can, the importance of networking and working together as a team. Any opportunities you get to get out there and get after it. I really did miss the ability to get out to Op Pegasus this year. I saw, and I'm super proud of some of those folks that got out and after it. I was talking to Damien Robertson about his experience. The video he posted brought a tear to my eye a little bit. And I was hoping to get together with him for some tattoo work before I left, but I'll leave this that my plan is to come out next year and spend the appropriate amount of time. And some members that came this year for the first time were people that I'd been pushing on to get out there, and I'm really glad that they did. And also where things have come and grown and how it continues to succeed, I'm going to make it a priority to still be a part of that effort. And I see the benefits in continuing other businesses that are getting started that'll need some help. So always looking to mentor where I can, and we're refining our process and continuing to help, but also moving things up to the next level each year. So my mantra, my big takeaway is do better.
Do better. I like it. It's a good mantra to have. Any thoughts, Sean?
Well, you had a question, no?
Yeah. So my question was, I saw a major difference between when you left initially for the course itself, for the field rather, and where you are now. And the big thing that I wanted to ask really about that was there a particular time, like it just like clicked? Oh, okay, now I kind of figured it out. Now it all works out, or was it more of a delayed, piece by piece, kind of broken down, and then they all kind of coalesced later on? What do you think?
Now, there was a definite change in when things really started to click and the confidence met the competence. I think initially I came here
Yeah,
a little
hold on a sec, bud.
initially concerned.
You're getting all sorts of
Audio issues?
audio issues here going on. Yeah, let me. I'm not sure what is going on. I am.
Let me unplug the Bluetooth here. Let's see
Okay.
if that helps.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
One sec. Is that better?
Yeah, that is much better.
Okay. Get a little apple.
Oh no, and I think. Okay. You know what? I think we might have to shut her down for today. I'm just gonna mute you here real quick. There we go. I think we might have to shut her down for today. I don't understand what is happening in terms of the audio issues. I am rather embarrassed. So I do apologize to everybody watching because this is not how we run things here. It is definitely my bad. My apologies. Sean, any final thoughts before we shut this down and we can get this fixed for tomorrow?
I guess my final thoughts are this. Corey, thanks for joining us. It's a bummer that it didn't play out the way that we would have all liked it to play out. I appreciate you taking the time to put across your the things that you've learned and your wisdom that you gained during the process. I feel like we didn't really have a full conversation, which is a bummer because I do love hanging out with you, pal. And given that you didn't show up at Operation Pegasus Jump this year, we do need to spend more time hanging out. And the only freaking way I'm sending you coffee in the future, pal, is via a physical handshake, not a virtual handshake. So get with the program. Let's get together and let's make it happen.
Outstanding. Corey, I'm still, again, not sure what's going on with your audio, but I do appreciate,
I can try. Can you hear me now?
it's rough, but give us a quick one. Quick final thought.
Yeah, I mean, again, thanks for taking the time. You'll see me on here more. I'll make the time to get some time to just get back on focusing on what's important, getting into the collective, working with other groups like this, and I'll have some time to formulate some more thoughts and takeaways from the course. So this won't be the last conversation we have.
Absolutely. All right, let's just going to turn that off. I apologize again, everybody, for the audio. This is something that I am actively working on. We will get this sorted quickly. And now as I learn about what is going on in the issues and I build my ability to manage the audio, I get to grow and provide you a better show next time. So we'll see y'all tomorrow. Chimo.
Chimo.